fractions, division, dividing fractions. We are going to use the KFC method. So the K is for keep. This is for the first fraction. F is for flip. This is for the second fraction. And C is for change. And this is for the sign. So let's look at example 1 to see how we can solve this using the KFC method. Because we're going to go 1/4 divided by 3 over 7. So when we look at this, we're going to make this a little bit bigger. So we're going to first keep the first fraction. So we just go ahead and write 1/4. But as we see the second fraction, it says to flip it. So what we're going to do is put the 7 on the top over 3. And then next we're going to change the sign. So because we did the flip on the second fraction, we can now change our division to multiplication. And this is a much easier problem for us to solve. So, like we've done before, we're just going to go ahead and multiply the top numbers together, and we'll multiply the bottom numbers together. So 1 times 7 is equal to 7. 4 times 3 is equal to 12. So 1/4 divided by 3/7 is equal to 7 over 12. And we solved this using the KFC method. Now let's look at another example. Example 2. Solve 2/3 divided by 1/6. So for this example, we're going to visually think about it first before we mathematically solve it. So when we say we have 2/3, well, what we're going to do is we have a 3 here and a 6 here. So we are going to create 3 boxes here to represent the thirds. And then we're going to create 6 columns. So essentially we have columns going up and down and then rows from left to right. So the 3 is the rows, 6 is the columns. So it creates these little boxes, 3 by 6. So now we have 18 in total in each one. So for the first one, because it is 2/3, we're going to represent this with the rows. So that's 1/3. But we need to represent 2/3. So we're going to also color in that middle one. Now, we also have 1/6. And then we are doing this by the columns. We're just going to color in one of the 6 columns because it's 1/6. So that is how it's represented. Now what we're asking is how many of these 1/6s, like right here, is in 2/3. So that's what we're asking. Well, when we look, we see we have 1 here. We have another one here because there's 3 boxes. Another one here. Another one here. So how many 1/6 are in 2/3? Well, there's 4. So our answer would equal 4 because that's how many there are in 2/3. But we can also do this mathematically. So 2/3 divided by 1/6. Well, using our KFC, we're going to keep the first. We're going to flip the second one. And then we're going to use multiplication. And then we're going to go ahead and solve this. Now we're going to solve what's on the top by multiplying that out and then multiply what's on the bottom. Now, but before that, we notice that we have a 3 here and a 6 here. So let's go ahead and just go 3 divided by 3, so that's 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now we can go ahead and solve for this. So we have 2 times 2, so that's 4. 1 times 1 is 1. So we have 4 over 1, which is really just 4. So that's our answer, which is what we got when we visually looked at this problem. So when we say 2/3 divided by 1/6, what's the answer? The answer is 4. And now we can see why, because 2/3, say we can visually look at it, and how many 1/6 are in there? Well, there are 4, because these each count as 1. So therefore, our answer is 4. And so now we can see how visually this worked out, and also how it worked using our KFC method. Now let's do another example. Example 3. Solve the following: 1/8 divided by 2/8. Well, we're going to use the KFC method, and just write it here. So we have 1/8, we'll just rewrite this, divided by 2/8 is equal to, well, let's use the KFC. So 1/8 will just stay the same. We're going to keep that first fraction. The F is for flip. So we're going to go 8 over 2 now, and then we're going to change the sign. So that's multiplication now. Now we have the problem set up in a way we can solve. So let's go ahead and multiply the top numbers, and then we're going to multiply the bottom numbers. But before we do that, we can also notice that we have an 8 here and an 8 here. That means we can divide out a whole 8 on the top and the bottom. 8 divided by 8 is equal to 1. 8 divided by 8 is equal to 1. This way, this makes it a lot easier to solve, and we don't have to reduce later. So we can't reduce any further or cross out any common other factors. So we can just go 1 times this new 1, which is equal to 1. Now we have this 1 times 2, which is 2. So we have 1/2 as our final answer. So the solution to this problem of 1/8 divided by 2/8 is equal to 1/2.